Like, well, it was sunny anyway, but it's a bit quieter as well. Oh, hello, welcome to Think and Grow Rich Daily Hangout. This is a daily dose of prosperity consciousness. So I'm joined, my name's Sandy Levesque, joined here today with Glenn Walker in Tennessee. Do you want to say hello, Glenn?
Good morning, everybody.
Hi, everyone. And we were just chatting about the Atlantic because I've just moved from the Mediterranean Sea to the Atlantic Ocean. And it's well, to be honest, I'm a bit of a chicken. I don't like being cold, so I don't tend to go in the sea very often anyway. But ironically, I love to be near it, so it's strange.
I don't mind going in Hawaii or in Florida, but outside of that, it's kind of cold, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It becomes more of a takes so long to get in, and
Yeah.
it's so cold when you're in that it's not really. It feels more like a challenge than a fun thing. But actually, it kind of ties in with this topic because it's a little bit, it's all about persistence that we're reading about at the moment. Yesterday, we
Yes.
read about the symptoms of the failure of persistence and what happens when you're not. And basically, Napoleon is saying that all the people that he interviewed, over 500 of them, I think he actually interviewed even more than that. Sometimes he says like over 1,000, but they all shared this trait of being persistent and of being determined and and really when you do the exercises in the book, like the self-confidence formula, I've been memorizing that and saying it every day. It's all, a lot of it is like, I here now commit to do this until this happens. It's like a lot of it is building up the muscle of persistence. So that's actually the
And
book got to, was how to develop persistence.
yeah.
So, which is good because I think people sometimes feel like, well, how do I do it? Because I just seem to struggle with this. Would you like to read, Glenn, or should I read? Or...
Well, why don't you go ahead and read today, right? Maybe I'll do it tomorrow, you know?
Cool, yeah, that makes sense because you read yesterday. Okay, so I'll just share my screen. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, I've lost the Hangout. There we go. And if you're watching, because we have quite a few people all over the world, and you'd like to come into the Hangout, then you're very welcome to. Just click on the first link in the Facebook group. And if you don't know how to become in the Facebook group, then there's a link in the description. So just have a look in the description of this Google event, and it will tell you where to click. Okay, so can you see the screen, Glenn?
Yes, I can see it. Mhm.
Okay, great. Cool. So how to develop persistence. There are 4 simple steps which lead to the habit of persistence. They call for no great amount of intelligence, no particular amount of education, and but little time or effort. The necessary steps are: 1. A definite purpose backed by burning desire for its fulfillment. 2. A definite plan expressed in continuous action. 3. A mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences, including negative suggestions of relatives, friends, and acquaintances. That always makes me laugh for some reason. 4. A friendly alliance with one or more persons who will encourage one to follow through with both plan and purpose. These 4 steps are essential for success in all walks of life. The entire purpose of the 13 principles of this philosophy is to enable one to take these 4 steps as a matter of habit. These are the steps by which one may control one's economic destiny. They are the steps that lead to freedom and independence of thought. They are the steps that lead to riches in small or great quantities. They lead the way to power, fame, and worldly recognition. They are the 4 steps which guarantee favorable breaks. They are the steps that convert dreams into physical realities. They lead also to the mastery of fear, discouragement, indifference. There is a magnificent reward for all who learn to take these 4 steps. It is the privilege of writing one's own ticket and of making life yield whatever price is asked. I have no way of knowing the facts, but I venture to conjecture that Mrs. Wallace Simpson's great love for a man was not accidental, nor the result of favorable breaks alone. Oh, by the way, for people watching who might not know who Mrs. Wallace is, she was the woman, an American lady that one of the kings of England abdicated from the throne so that he could marry her. He wasn't allowed to marry her as and for her to become queen because she was divorced. So he actually gave up his position and to be with her. So anyway, yeah, there was a burning desire and careful searching at every step of the way. Her first duty was to love. What is the greatest thing on earth? The master called it love, not man-made rules, criticism, bitterness, slander, or political marriages, but love. She knew, oh, she knew what she wanted, not after she met the Prince of Wales, but long before that. Twice when she had failed to find it, she had the courage to continue her search. To thine own self be true, and it must follow as night the day. Thou canst not be false to any man. Her rise from obscurity was one of slow, progressive, persistent order, but it was sure. She triumphed over unbelievably long odds, and no matter who you are, or what you may think of Wallis Simpson, or the king who gave up his crown for her love, she is an astounding example of applied persistence, an instructor on the rules of self-determination, from whom the entire world might profitably take lessons. When you think of Wallis Simpson, think of one who knew what she wanted and shook the greatest empire on earth to get it. Women who complain that this is a man's world, that women do not have equal chance to win, owe it to themselves to study carefully the life of this unusual woman, who at an age which most women consider old, captured the affections of the most desirable bachelor in the entire world. And what of King Edward? What lesson may we learn from his part in the world's greatest drama of recent times? Did he pay too high a price for the affections of the woman of his choice? Surely no one but he can give the correct answer. The rest of us can only conjecture. This much we know, the king came into the world without his own consent. He was born to great riches without requesting them. He was persistently sought in marriage. Politicians and statesmen throughout Europe tossed dowagers and princesses at his feet. Because he was the firstborn of his parents, he inherited a crown which he did not seek, and perhaps did not desire. For more than 40 years he was not a free agent, could not live his life in his own way, had but little privacy, and finally assumed duties inflicted upon him when he ascended the throne. Some will say, with all these blessings, King Edward should have found peace of mind, contentment, and joy of living. Oh, we're getting a bit of feedback, Glenn. I think it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Might need to mute. The truth is that back of all the privileges of a crown, all the money, the fame, and the power inherited by King Edward, there was an emptiness which could be filled only by love. His greatest desire was for love. Long before he met Wallis Simpson, he doubtless felt this great universal emotion tugging at the strings of his heart, beating upon the door of his soul, and crying out for expression. And when he met a kindred spirit, crying out for the same holy privilege of expression, he recognized it, and without fear or apology, opened his heart and bade it enter. All the scandal mongers in the world cannot destroy the beauty of this international drama, through which two people found love and had the courage to face open criticism, renounce all else to give it holy expression. King Edward's decision to give up the crown of the world's most powerful empire for the privilege of going the remainder of the way through life with a woman of his choice was a decision that required courage. The decision also had a price, but who has the right to say the price was too great? Surely not he who said, "He among you is without sin." He who among you is without sin, let him cast the first stone. As a suggestion to any evil-minded person who chooses to find fault with the Duke of Windsor because his desire was for love, and for openly declaring his love for Wallis Simpson, and giving up his throne for her, let it be remembered that the open declaration was not essential. He could have followed the custom of clandestine liaison which has prevailed in Europe for centuries, without giving up his throne or the woman of his choice, and there would have been no complaint from either church or laity. But this unusual man was built of sterner stuff. His love was clean, it was deep and sincere. It represented the one thing which above all else he truly desired. Therefore he took what he wanted, and paid the price demanded. If Europe had been blessed with more rulers with the human heart and the traits of honesty of ex-King Edward, the past century, that unfortunate hemisphere now seething with greed, hate, lust, political connivance, and threats of war, would have had a different and better story to tell. A story in which love and not hate would rule. In the words of Stuart Austin Weir, we raise our cup and drink this toast to ex-King Edward and Wallis Simpson. Blessed is the man who has come to know that our muted thoughts are our sweetest thoughts. Blessed is the man who from the blackest depths can see the luminous figure of love, and seeing, sing, and singing, say, "Sweeter far than uttered lays are the thoughts I have of you." In these words would we pay tribute to the two people who, more than all lovers of modern times, have been the greatest have been the victims of criticism and the recipients of abuse because they found life's greatest treasure and claimed it. Mrs. Simpson, by the way, read and approved this analysis. Most of the world will applaud the Duke of Windsor and Wallis Simpson because of their persistence in searching until they found life's greatest reward. All of us can profit by following their example in our own search for that which we demand of life. What mystical power gives to people of persistence the capacity to master difficulties? Does the quality of persistence set up in one's mind some form of spiritual, mental, or chemical activity which gives one access to supernatural forces? Does infinite intelligence throw itself on the side of the person who still fights on after the battle has been lost, with the whole world on the opposing side? These and many other similar questions have arisen in my mind as I have observed men like Henry Ford, who started at scratch and built an industrial empire of huge proportions, with little else in the way of a beginning but persistence, or Thomas A. Edison, who with little than 3 months of schooling became the world's leading inventor and converted persistence into the talking machine, the dictaphone, the moving picture machine, oh, I didn't know he created that, and the incandescent light bulb, to say nothing of 100 other useful inventions. I had the happy privilege of analyzing both Mr. Edison and Mr. Ford year by year over a long period of years, and therefore the opportunity to study them at close range. So I speak from actual knowledge when I say that I found no quality save persistence in either of them that even remotely suggested the major source of their stupendous achievements. As one makes an impartial study of the prophets, philosophers, miracle men, and religious leaders of the past, one is drawn to the inevitable conclusion that persistence, concentration of effort, and definiteness of purpose were the major sources of their achievements. Consider, for example, the strange and fascinating story of Muhammad. Analyze his life, compare him with men of achievement in this modern age of industry and finance, and observe how they have one outstanding trait in common: persistence. If you are keenly interested in studying the strange power which gives potency to persistence, read a biography of Muhammad, especially the one by Esad Bey. This brief review of that book by Thomas Surgu in the Herald Tribune will provide a preview of the rare treat in store for those who take the time to read the entire story of one of the most astounding examples of the power of persistence known to civilization. Just wondering whether to read it. Yeah, it's not that long. Okay. The Last Great Prophet, reviewed by Thomas Segru. Muhammad was a prophet, but he never performed a miracle. He was not a mystic. He had no formal schooling. He did not begin his mission until he was 40. When he announced that he was the messenger of God, bringing a word of true religion, he was ridiculed and labeled a lunatic. Children tripped him, and women threw filth upon him. He was banished from his native city, Mecca, and his followers were stripped of their worldly goods and sent into the desert after him. When he had been preaching 10 years, he had nothing to show for it but banishment, poverty, and ridicule. Yet before another 10 years had passed, he was dictator of all Arabia, ruler of Mecca, and the head of a new world religion, which was to sweep to the Danube and the Pyrenees before exhausting the impetus he gave it. That impetus was threefold: the power of words, the efficacy of prayer, and people's kinship with God. His career never made sense. Muhammad was born to impoverished members of a leading family of Mecca. Because Mecca, the crossroads of the world, home of the magic stone called the Kaaba, great city of trade and the center of trade routes, was unsanitary, its children were sent to be raised in the desert by Bedouins. Muhammad was thus nurtured, drawing strength and health from the milk of nomad, vicarious mothers. He tended sheep and was soon hired out to a rich widow as leader of her caravans. He traveled to all parts of the Eastern world, talked with many people of diverse beliefs, and observed the decline of Christianity into warring sects. When he was 28, Khadijah, the widow, looked upon him with favor and married him. Her father would have objected to such a marriage, so she got him drunk and held him up while he gave the parental blessing. For the next 12 years, Muhammad lived as a rich and respected and very shrewd trader. Then he took to wandering the desert, and one day he returned with the first verse of the Quran and told Khadijah that the archangel Gabriel had appeared to him and said that he was to be the messenger of God. The Quran, the revealed word of God, was the closest thing to a miracle in Muhammad's life. He had not been a poet. He had no gift of words. Yet the verses of the Quran, as he received them and recited them to the faithful, were better than any verses which the professional poets of the tribes could produce. This to the Arabs was a miracle. To them the gift of words was the greatest gift. The poet was all-powerful. In addition, the Quran said that all people were equal before God, that the world should be a democratic state, Islam. It was this political heresy, plus Muhammad's desire to destroy all the 360 idols in the courtyard of the Kaaba, which brought about his banishment. The idols brought the desert tribes to Mecca, and that meant trade. So the businessmen of Mecca, the capitalists, of which he had been one, set upon Muhammad. Then he retreated to the desert and demanded sovereignty over the world. The rise of Islam began. Out of the desert came a flame which would not be extinguished, a democratic army fighting as a unit and prepared to die without wincing. Muhammad had invited the Jews and the Christians to join him. Though he was not building a new religion, he was calling all who believed in one God to join in a single faith. If Jews and Christians had accepted his invitation, Islam would have conquered the world. They didn't. They would not even accept Muhammad's innovation of humane warfare. When the armies of the Prophet entered Jerusalem, not a single person was killed because of his faith. When the Crusaders entered the city centuries later, not a Muslim man, woman, or child was spared. But the Christians did accept one Muslim idea, the place of learning, the university. Wow, that's just amazing. Isn't that so powerful? I sort of forgotten that from the other readings. I have read that passage before, but that's
Yeah, well,
amazing.
I know we went through it before, but you're right. It really kind of stands out in this story of persistence, right?
Yeah,
It really does. And then also Wallace and Edward, of course.
yeah,
And that was very. That was almost a precursor to World War II. Part of what he read in there about them committing to their love, and if other rulers of Europe had that same character, right, then we might have prevented World War II, right, or even World War I when you think about it, when you study what
yeah,
went on there,
yeah,
yeah. So those are both powerful stories, I think, about people that were persistent in their desires, right, in their
absolutely. Yeah, I remember last time after reading this chapter, I did actually research Wallace Simpson, but I can't really remember much of what I found. I have to improve my memory. But I'm really touched by Muhammad's story because, I mean, this is a bit off topic of persistence, but just the fact that he actually, I didn't realize that the Quran and that Muhammad advocated for there to be for there to be one religion and that he was open to all people of all religions and peaceful warfare. Isn't that incredible when you consider like how twisted things have become now?
Yes, yeah, oh yeah.
Isn't that amazing that the
Yeah,
Crusaders
yeah,
killed and they were ruthless and brutal, and it's amazing to think that Muhammad's followers didn't kill a single person.
yeah. So how, I wonder how they arrived at what they arrive at now. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
hard to understand. Yeah, I
it
think it has
is.
some deep study of the the history of that. How that evolved.
Yeah, it's complicated, isn't it?
Yeah,
But on the topic of persistence, um, it's amazing as well to think that he had this privileged background. He was living as a trader with a wealthy widow, um, having a nice life, and then because of what came to him in the desert, he then spent 10 years.
yeah,
Can you imagine 10 years with
yeah.
nothing? Like in the desert, probably
And
like scraping to eat food from day to day, but just sharing what he had heard and what had come to him and telling people about it. It's just incredibly inspiring. And I think also Napoleon Hill, he doesn't really include himself in this book, in this chapter. He does a little bit, but his story is very inspiring. I sometimes think of it whenever I need a moment of inspiration.
it is very inspiring. And remember, he said yesterday he had to think real long and hard about committing to 20 years of working on this book, and he had a lot of doubts. Remember, he struggled with it himself, and of course he had to become a persistent person to complete the book. But
Yeah.
I've often wondered. I wonder what he did do while he was writing the book, because he had to have an income, right? You know, I wonder what his
Yeah.
story is. You know, that would be interesting to know that.
Oh, sorry, Glenn. Do you mind holding the fort? There's someone at my door.
Oh, okay, yeah, good, yeah,
Sorry, there's not normally anyone here, but I'll be back in 1 second because
okay,
oh, unless I'll be back in 1 second.
yeah. Yeah, so what I was wondering yesterday too, when I read about Napoleon committing to doing 20 years of working on this book, what he was doing in parallel, he must have been doing something to earn an income, because you'd have to have something there underlying what you're doing, you know. So anyway, I'm going to try to dig into that and see if we can find some history on that. That would be interesting. And then the other thing, of course, is that when Wallace and Edward, when they connected, that was like in, I think it was about 1937 or 38. And so that was just a couple of years before World War II broke out. And one of the points that he did make in this is, if other great leaders at that time had the heart of Edward, the ability to stick with love as his path, then maybe we would have prevented World War II. That would be an interesting thing to explore too, to take a look at. And there is a movie, by the way, called W.E., which was done by Madonna, I believe, which I haven't seen yet, but this thing we read here does make me kind of want to stick with, take a look at that movie now and see how historically accurate they depict the relationship between the two of them. I think that would be a very interesting thing to explore too. So, and of course, as Sandy and I both said, as we go through this, it's amazing how you discover something new each time you read. Think and Grow Rich. Different parts of it will actually come out and really kind of hit you over the head and say, hey, this is something that I hadn't looked at in the past. And you begin to look into it and explore it a little bit stronger, and it will help you to move forward too by doing that, you know. So I think that's a good thing. Well, okay, it looks like Sandy is tied up here for a minute or two. Okay. But I think also persistence. Yeah, I think persistence is a very important component of becoming, of actually reaching your dreams. And in fact, the other day I read an interesting proverb. It said, it's a Japanese proverb, I believe. It says, fall down 7 times, get up 8. So when you're persistent, that's really what you do. You never let go of your dream. You continue to work on your dream, and by getting up the 8th time, of course, you will proceed to work on your dream, and then also convert all those failures into a positive. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Sandy.
Oh, thank you so much, Glenn.
I was just saying, Sandy, I was just saying that there's a Japanese proverb that says, fall down 7 times, get up 8.
Oh.
Persistence, right?
Yeah, yeah. And we still have the same number of viewers as we did before I left. So yeah, great job, Glenn, in holding the
Oh,
fort.
good.
Sorry
I
about
just
that.
rambled on a little bit about what we had read this morning too, so
Cool. Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
not as good with the word as you are. You're wonderful.
oh, I don't know about that. You are. I think you are. You're great. Yeah, you always have something useful to add and a clear way of expressing ideas. Um, it was actually just a gardener that's come to the house, but there's dogs in here, so I have to like make sure they come in and stuff. So it's a little bit complicated. Um, but there was something that had come to me as we were reading this that has gone now, which is annoying me, that I wanted to share with people just as another example of persistence. And it wasn't. Oh, damn, I think it's gone. Oh, yeah, I just wanted to come back to this point of how to develop persistence because he says there are four simple steps, which I thought was interesting. The first one, a definite purpose backed by burning desire to make it happen. Second, a definite plan expressed in continuous action.
Yes. Yeah.
Three, a mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences. And four, a friendly alliance with one or more persons who will encourage one to follow through with both plan and purpose. So it's so interesting because this comes back again and again. He's basically weaving in through the whole book the basic formula, which isn't that complicated. I remember when I was younger, I would look at millionaires or people that were massively wealthy, and I would literally sit there thinking, how is that possible? Because I would see how hard my parents were working, and
Yeah.
we weren't, poor. We were like middle class, but we didn't, we knew where every penny went. It wasn't like
Yes.
we never relaxed with money, and there was always like this stressful energy with it in my house for as long as I can remember. And and I remember thinking, how do people get rich? Like how literally I couldn't understand how it would work, you know. and and now it's interesting when you realize it's not as complicated as people think, and and basically know what you want to do, have a way of getting to it, and you don't even have to come up with that on your own. If you follow this book,
Right.
he's talking about talk to infinite intelligence, talk to the universe or God, and an idea, a way for you to achieve your plan will come to you,
Hmm.
and then make sure you close your mind against any people that will try and say you can't do it,
Yeah.
and have a mastermind group. So it's like four basic ingredients to make this happen. Um,
Speaking
and
of mastermind, Mary Morrissey calls it partners in believing, and I think that's what we
yeah.
are, right? I think we are, right? I believe in your dream. I think your dream is amazing, amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
Yeah, I love
I
that.
think
Partners in believing.
I like that too, partners in believing, because I think that's what we are. That
Totally. Oh
that's
my goodness, I love that. That's like the best. That's beautiful, yeah. And that's exactly what everyone in this group, all of us, because I believe in you, Glenn, and what you would like to create, and everyone who's, whether you watch these hangouts regularly or you come onto them or not, you just didn't hang out in the group.
yeah,
We're here to sort of where two or more are gathered. This is what I thought when I was reading this
yes,
book on my own initially, and then one day the idea just came to my head that I should do a hangout with it, and
yeah,
and I resisted it for 2 months, and then I thought, well, it just had such a light energy to it, and I thought, well, it will do something. I know it will like create something powerful, because I believe that the more of us who come together, we do actually start to. It's just more powerful, than rather than you just sitting at home reading something on your own. So
right.
partners in believing, that's a great way of describing it.
And each time you reread this, I was mentioning while you were away, stepped away from it too. Each time you read this, something new will hit you over the head too in this book, right?
Exactly. Yeah, this is what Bob Proctor was saying. He was like, someone asked him, he said once, why do you keep reading Think and Grow Rich? He was like, because every time I read it, I see something I didn't get before. And he was like, and he was, it's the best of the best. And
Yeah.
he's not saying you shouldn't read anything else, but to
No,
him, it's almost like a Bible, like you just refer back to it. And it's because so much of the world it doesn't believe in the things that are in this book, doesn't believe that you can do what you put your mind to, doesn't believe that you can change your circumstances beyond any recognition. And something funny I just want to share quickly before we finish was sometimes I have this funny thing where sometimes when I'm like talking to the universe, this might sound a bit strange, but I see like a white feather
Yeah.
float, like it's like this little symbol I see quite a lot whenever I'm asking questions about something, or I'm just saying in my head, you know, like almost praying in my head.
Yes.
Um, and it happens quite a lot. And you know, some people would be like, "Oh, it's just coincidence," but I don't really believe in coincidences. And so today I was walking along and I was doing my habit of the month for August, which was to constantly be visualizing um, where I'd like to be, like my target, and
Mhm.
having it written down on a piece of paper. But I've been taking it one level more and just thinking about it whenever I think of it. Just it's almost like Bob Proctor calls it. It's like playing a game with yourself. You kind of trick your mind into believing it's already like that. You just think about how it'll be, what you'll be doing. Like I
Yes.
think about gifts
Yeah.
I'll buy people, stuff like that.
Living. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was doing that today, and this white feather just like flew down in front of me and like almost touched my nose.
Really?
And,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh my
and
goodness.
I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
knew it was. I felt like it was the universe saying, "It's okay, it's coming."
Yeah. Yeah. You're moving there.
You
Yeah.
know.
Very
So
cool.
I think sometimes, you know, we all have
That's a
little
good
things.
image too. I can think about that image, the white feather. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually started after I read the book Illusions by Richard Bach. Um, I don't know if have you read that book, Glenn?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh,
Illusion.
I think you'd like it. It's a fiction book from the 70s. It's
Oh.
very easy to read, very short, but it's beautiful. And it's all about how we create our world with our thoughts. It's like a fiction version of this.
Yeah.
And the front cover is a feather. So
I'll look it up.
yeah, I think you'd like it. It's very. I always keep it. It's one of the few books I've kept with me as I started to travel because I often pick it up and I just read something from it and
Yeah.
it's just great.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I mentioned too, Sandy, was that there's a movie that Madonna did, which I haven't seen yet, called W.E., which is Wallace Edward, which is supposed to be about them. So
Oh,
I wonder how accurately that movie depicts what we read in the book, because
oh yeah,
Wallace had approved that description of their relationship, right? So it was an
yeah.
interesting movie to find. See if we can find that and look at it.
Oh,
Find
I'm
it.
gonna watch that. Thank you for saying that because I totally forgot about that. I'm
Yeah.
writing that on my list
We.
right now.
We.
Films.
Yeah, we. I'm
Yeah,
going to look it up too. I'm going to see if it's on Netflix or Amazon or somewhere, because it's been out for a long time, probably 5 years,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. But it'd be interesting to. Oh, I love stuff like that. I'm going to watch that. Yeah.
Just to kind of fill out our knowledge about that.
Exactly. And sometimes films are a great way to sort of do that because you see things in a visual way. I personally get a lot out of watching movies.
Yeah.
And Lucy, that was the other film that Geraldine talked about. That's going on my
Yeah.
list as well.
Yeah. I haven't
Oh,
seen it.
cool. I sense a movie night coming on. Okay, I have to go and take care of Chico. So I'm
Okay.
going to sign off. But thank you so much for holding the fort, Glenn. Doing a great job.
Yeah.
And let's all be partners in believing for each other.
Right.
Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day.
See you tomorrow.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.